So let me just recap a bit of the psychoanalysis overview, like why am I even talking about it and stuff like this, and how I discovered some of these other ideas and connected them. I mean, yeah, psychoanalysis at a basic level talks about structures of thought, talks about how our unconscious is organized. So unconscious is a big thing. This is something that is very kind of overlooked by modern society, undervalued in the sense of where in life does that kind of affect and matter for us in order to like organize how we live and even care about the stuff that is unconscious. As scientific discoveries have been made throughout modernity and enlightenment, it's made it so that people are more and more willing to accept that we understand and know reality, that we can take it as a given that what we see in consciousness is how things are, and we kind of like ignore essentially the mechanisms of what the unconscious does because we have such a well-structured scientific way of seeing the world where we don't even need to think about it in a sense because it's just kind of there and our thoughts just tell us what it is. Well, really the question of like the unconscious mind is sort of the question of free will and ability to control thought. So this is something I would like to ask you. What do you think about like the free will and determinism question in terms of how your conscious or unconscious experience like structures your daily life? Do you feel like you're able to exercise free will, or do you feel like there's things that are just for you that you're following?
I feel like this question kind of is not one or the other. Like, you have some degree of free will, but also a lot of not free will. Because I have free will, like you have free will, just like there's 7 other billion people on the planet that have free will. So it's like, do you really have free will when you're in this ocean of people with their own directives? I don't know. You have a little bit of influence, but not really. Like, you're like a minnow swimming in the ocean.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because we're kind of affected by a bunch of other things, and we have constraints because of it. And it's not just like physical. It's a very naive thing to think that it's just a matter of like physical constraints of what we're able to do. It's also the fact that we have to coexist with other people, and we have to consideration that they're going to be a certain way. That also is going to determine like what we're capable of or
Yeah.
not. So the thing about the unconscious, do you know Sam Harris?
I've heard of him. I don't know a lot about his philosophy.
So Sam Harris was one of the 4 like horsemen of the atheist like movement in the previous decade. This is something probably something you've experienced if you've been online. You're a bit younger than me, so maybe you haven't seen it quite to the same extent. But from like the period of like 2000s in the US post 9/11 and stuff, there was more of this conflict over like religious fundamentalism. Obviously they were fighting like radical Islam, but also at home they have tons of crazy evangelical Zionist like strange very ideological like Christian people, as well as like in powerful positions of government even, and you can see that more today. But there was a lot of like this kind of influence of like religious stuff in a society that ostensibly was moving past that because we're like a secular country. We're not really supposed to be doing things by religion, even though we have freedom for religion. The state doesn't get involved in that. Well, at the culture war level, that used to be the culture war essentially, right? It's like there was these people like Richard Dawkins for the others, Sam Harris, Daniel Dennett was just, is he counting as one of them?
I was definitely alive, but I was young during this. In middle school, I started this club called Atheists United.
Christopher Hitchens, right? Hitchens is dead now, but yeah. So
are the rest of them alive?
I believe so, yeah. Richard Dawkins, interesting thing. I mean, this whole debate, this is like related to Gamergate and later like the cultural war over feminism and later cultural war over gender itself. And now cultural war over trans people.
Yeah.
I see that as a continuation of this like strain of thought that relates these abstract 2 sides that can be described with psychoanalytics. But yeah, why did I bring up Sam Harris? So they're atheists. They believe in physicalism, essentially, which is there's nothing in the world, in reality, that isn't made of matter or isn't based on the material physical world in a way. There is a different realm of properties or some kind of existence that can claim itself beyond or separate to just pure physical matter, and things in physical matter operate by physically causal kind of laws of nature, essentially. So a bunch of their arguments had to do with why God and religion and stuff is kind of fake and like leading people to doing these crazy irrational things. And some of it was also, about the question of free will and where to fit essentially the theory of like physical determinism in the context of having God or not, right? Because if we say there is no God and there is no spirit, there isn't this like other realm of spirituality or something like that, something that's mental, then we only have like the base matter, and the base matter operates by physical laws. Therefore, our subjectivities, our existence in real life, including our minds are also operating by the same set of causal laws underlying it. So the kind of result of that is implying that we are predetermined in a sense. And this gets very complex. I mean, most of these guys have, I will admit, like more elaborate kind of theories to try to fit in the role of free will, to try to say, okay, well, we don't have free will, but if we kind of like frame things in this way or that way, like Daniel Dennett especially has gone further in trying to solve the so-called hard problem of consciousness. I don't know if you've heard that term.
I've heard it, but I couldn't tell you like what it means.
It's kind of just trying to connect like the level of neuroscience to the level of mental perception and thoughts, right? Like there's a certain sense to where there's physical description of the world that we are able to do using scientific terminology and discourse measurements, and there's a certain level of like spiritual or mental abstract thoughts maybe that have to do with what they call like qualia, which is a property of sense that we could say that maybe humans have that can't be described with science and maybe can't be said to exist as a result. For example, if you look at the sky and you say that it's blue and I look at the sky, how can I know that my blue is the same as your blue? We could say that, yeah, there's a certain wavelength and it hits your retina on a certain like signal, but when it's actually perceived in your mental view of what the world is, our physical descriptions of science can't really get to that level. They can only get to a certain limit in neuroscience to where we can't like really abstract higher than that, or it gets like too tricky, or it gets very too complex to just easily unravel where that blueness is. So that's kind of like the hard problem of consciousness, and that's something that is worthwhile for them to solve. Sam Harris specifically went a lot on about determinism, and one of the ways that he would present the argument is essentially, if you think about how your daily life, you go about your day and like try to interact with things and like have desires and engage with other people, maybe start to have opinions about things. What does it really mean for you to be able to have your opinion and interject with your thought? Right now, I am speaking to you. Your brain is kind of just picking up the signals from your headphones, processing it, and then what is it doing to create your thoughts? Like, where are they coming from? Are you simply thinking the same thing that I'm saying, or is your brain interpreting it and creating some sort of meaning for you? Or are you doing that yourself? Like, do you have free will to understand what I'm saying in any which way? Or are you only able to understand it through the stuff that you've learned already that you're able to talk about?